Accept all obeisances. All praise to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the class. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutane Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are studying chapter 12 of Bhagavad-gita, and we completed first 7 verses which talk about the superiority of the path of bhakti over impersonal worship of the Supreme Lord. Let's chant the Mangalachan for Bhagavad-gita. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullaravindayata Patra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Puranaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Parnaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita Amrita Duhe Namaha. Now in the verses 8 to 12 of this chapter, Krishna is going to describe to Arjuna the different levels of devotional service. So in chapter 6, when we completed it, we discussed about yoga ladder. That was an ascending yoga ladder, which means we spoke about the lowest level, and then we went to the next higher level, then the next higher level, and then finally we came to Bhakti Yoga as the supreme most. Now here in this section, Krishna is going to go in the descending order. He's going to describe the topmost devotee first, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. So it's kind of telling Arjuna, you aim for this, and if you think you cannot aim for this, then go for the next level, which is a bit lower. If you cannot aim for that, then go to the next one, which is a bit lower. So then in this way, you find where you can situate yourself. And then from there, try to rise above or go above, go beyond. So that's an important lesson to learn, actually. When a person is guiding someone or showing a vision to someone, one should always show the highest vision, highest possibility. Then if one says, no, I'm not ready for that, I cannot do that, it's too much for me, I'm not prepared, then you bring that person to a lower level. If you look at Srila Prabhupada's books, and if you look at Srila Prabhupada's talks, he spoke of bhakti or devotional service at the highest level possible. He did not speak at a very low level to, attract the cheap masses. But at the same time, though he spoke of surrender and bhakti of the most purest form, when it came to practical dealings with his students and disciples, he did not expect them to be there. He knew that they cannot be there. So he allowed them to be at lower levels of bhakti, but encouraged them to rise higher, to go higher, So in that way, he made it very clear to them that you should know what the goal, and even if you are not there, but then you should be preparing yourself to reach there, Now, most of the spiritual teachers who are present on the planet at present also, it's not that they don't know what is the right thing. They don't know the truth. Often they know the truth, but they are afraid to present the truth to the audience because they think if we present the truth to the audience, then the number of our following will reduce because most of the people are not ready to hear the truth. So they will speak in a very compromised manner, in a diluted manner, in a confusing manner, but they'll not speak in a straightforward, to the point manner. But Srila Prabhupada did not do that. He always wanted people connected to ISKCON to know what is reality. Even if one is not able to function at that level, still at least one should know what is the reality, what is the goal. That should be very clear. But when it comes to one's personal practice, if one is not there, no problem. You start from where you are, but then one should know what the goal is, right? So Krishna is doing the same thing here, telling Arjuna the highest state at first, and then going down the ladder, stages of devotion. Okay, so in these verses now, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5 verses, the stages are very beautifully explained. The highest stage is when bhakti is performed with internal senses. When you talk about internal senses, it means with one's mind and with one's intelligence. These two are the internal senses. The 5 gross senses that we have, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, they are the external senses. So bhakti with internal senses, with one's mind and intelligence. Okay, so verse number 8 talks about that. And verse number 9 talks about that. 2 verses talk about bhakti with internal senses. So we're just getting an overview here of these verses. So the verse 8 has 2 kinds of bhakti explained, and verse 9 has the 3rd kind of bhakti explained. The names are Smaranatmika Bhakti, Mananatmika Bhakti, and Abhyasa Rupa Bhakti. Okay. These terms are given by Srila Vishvanatha Chakravarti Thakur. Smaranatmika, Mananatmika, and Abhyasa Rupa. So Smaranatmika Bhakti means you fix the mind upon Krishna by always remembering him. Then Mananatmika Bhakti is you fix the intelligence upon Krishna by contemplating on him. Contemplating on what? Contemplating on the teachings given in the scriptures. And then 9th is Abhyasa Rupa Bhakti. If one is not able to do the Bhakti at stage 8, means the verse 8, then one should go to the lower level of verse 9, Abhyasa Rupa, which means Sadhana Bhakti, which means I cannot fix my mind on Krishna, I cannot fix my intelligence on Krishna, but I can try to do that. At least let me try, and those attempts of trying to do that is called sadhana, which means you withdraw the mind from the sense objects and fix the mind on Krishna. Okay, in this way one develops the desire to attain Krishna. One develops the desire to attain Krishna. So this is explained here. These 2 verses talk about that. We'll look at these verses individually now. verse number 8. Mayeva mana adhatsva Mai buddhim niveshaya nivashishyasi mayeva ata urdhvam na sangshayaha. So when I said in the table 8.a, that refers to this line. Mayeva mana adhatsva, fix your mind upon me. And when I said 8b in the table, that refers to the next line. Mai buddhim niveshaya. Okay. So these are two types of devotional service. The highest is fixing the mind on Krishna. The next is fixing the intelligence on Krishna. But these two both are at the stage of bhava and prema bhakti, which means the highest one. Means who can do this? One who has attained complete love for Krishna can do that. Always fix the mind on Krishna. So they unconsciously remember Krishna. They don't have to put efforts to remember Krishna, right? Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. That's explained here. Okay. Now, when one is not able to do that, then one is advised to do the next one. Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknochi maisthiram abhyas yogena tato mamichhaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Abhyasa Yoga, also known as sadhana bhakti, practice, one should practice. So, this process of practice of sadhana is basically the process of diksha or initiation. Initiation into a particular parampara, because sadhana is done under the guidance of a guru. The guru gives us sadhana. This is what you're supposed to do. So that process is called diksha or initiation. So that's why to be initiated into a sampradaya is actually quite high level of commitment. It's just a step below the perfection of bhakti. Verse 8 talks about perfectional stage and verse 9 talks about practice stage. So to come to the commitment of initiation is itself quite appreciated, because that's quite high level of commitment. So one does sadhana bhakti, sadhana under the guidance of guru. And that's why, it's very rare to find people who want to stay committed to this process of initiation. There's so many will go for hearing Bhagavad-gathas, and they'll listen to bhajans about Krishna, and then do their own puja at home. But then that's one thing. And the other thing is you surrender to a spiritual master and you follow the instructions of that spiritual master. That's another level of commitment, a pretty higher level of commitment, So that is just one step lower to pure bhakti. And Prabhupada in the purport explains why this is needed, why abhyas is needed, what is meant by abhyas or sadhana. Yes, Pankaj Prabhu, you can read. I have to allow you to unmute yourself. Yes, you can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. But in this verse, two different processes of bhakti yogas are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified. And in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some other service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. The stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service, performed with the present senses. This love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart, and their love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. The practice of regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temples and offer prayers, and chant Hare Krishna, then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of God, love of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulation with the direction of the spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that in this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first one applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna. So this one refers to verse number 8. And the other one is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Lord by transcendental love. That is verse number 9. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. So these rules and regulations is called sadhana bhakti. So, and who gives those rules and regulations? That is given in the scriptures by the acharyas, in the acharyas' writings that's available. So bhakti yoga is the purification of the senses. At present, our senses are not purified, and that's why we have to practice bhakti to purify the senses. The love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. Means the love of God is there, but it is sleeping. It is not yet awakened. So it has to be awakened. And how do we do that? We purify the heart of its material association. And in that way, that natural love is revived. That's the whole process. So sadhana is needed because it will cleanse the heart of the dirt which is there in the heart. And then it will make that bhakti which is inside shine forth. Just like when you mine coal, then within the coal there is gold. So the coal has to be removed and then the gold has to be extracted. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, do certain things which are mentioned in the purport. We read that. And then he said, this practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. To the stage of love of God. Okay. So it was said that if you cannot do verse number 8 level of bhakti, you do verse number 9 level of bhakti, which is sadhana. But for most people, even that may be quite difficult to do. They may not be ready for that as well, because these two verses can be practiced or performed only by those people who are very intelligent, first of all, and second, who have an inoffensive nature. Inoffensive nature means they are free from envy. So they don't commit offenses to people around them and to the Supreme Lord. So those who are inoffensive in nature, they can perform these two levels of bhakti easily. But those who are not intelligent and those who have envious nature, for them to engage in this bhakti, even sadhana bhakti, is very difficult, because their mind is never going to be peaceful. Their own nature will not allow their mind to be peaceful. So they cannot bring the mind to calm by practice. And that's why for them, Krishna then suggests the next option, which is verse number 10. Verse number 10 is the next. So that is bhakti with then external senses. Bhakti with external senses. And I have seen this, I mean, maybe this may be a bit discouraging for people to hear, but I have seen this, that not many people are actually qualified to do sadhana bhakti also, because sadhana bhakti means commitment, So for them, spiritual life is, okay, once in a while go to temple, once in a while attend Janmashtami festival, once in a while donate some money to Krishna, seva, once in a while hear some classes on Gita and Bhagavatam. But to do that as a commitment on daily basis, no. They are not ready for that yet. Not yet ready for that. Because sadhana bhakti means it's like spiritual life is not a part of your life. Spiritual life is your life. That's sadhana bhakti. It's not just a part of your life, it is your life. And for many people, that much of commitment to spirituality is not there. For them, spirituality is kind of, little salt with the meal. You take little salt with the meal, little bit pickle with the meal. That's what spirituality for them is. But the main chunk of food for them is material life. So for them, this is not there. This is not going to work. And if they are not there at that level, then if they artificially try to be at that level, it's not going to function also. Then they have to come to the level given in verse number 10, which is engage in bhakti with external senses. That is to be done by them. Then slowly from that level, they may rise to the next level. It may rise to the next level. So what is this? Verse number 10. It says, Abhyase apiya samarthosi mat karma paramo bhava madartham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. So this level is mat karma paramo bhava. You work for the Supreme Lord. You work for Krishna. You work with your external senses, which means you do whatever you do in life, but then from that, what result you get, you give it to God. There is not so much of restriction on your freedom. You do whatever you like to do, right? No one is going to tell you, get up at this time in the morning, sleep at this time, wear these kind of clothes, eat this kind of food, where you can go, where you can't go, what kind of work you can do, what you can't do. All that freedom is given. It means you have a lot of independence, basically. But then you give the result to Krishna. You live your life the way you like to live, but then you offer the result to Krishna. Okay. When we say sadhana bhakti means you don't live your life the way you want to live. Sadhana bhakti means you live your life the way your guru wants you to live. That's called sadhana. That's how you live your life. It's just like if you are a player in a team, you don't play the way you want to play. You play the way the coach teaches you to play. Right? That's how you play, because you want the team to win. So similarly, sadhana bhakti means you serve Krishna, you live your life the way the guru or acharya teaches you to live. And here at verse number 10, you live your life the way you want to live. That's okay. But then you offer the results to Krishna. Mat karma paramo bhava. You offer your results to Krishna. Okay. So that is, Srila Prabhupada had one of his students, his name was George Harrison, who was a famous Beatles singer. Very, very famous. So he wanted to take initiation from Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada did not give him initiation. So Prabhupada said that though you have a very sincere heart and you also are a good devotee, but he did not tell him, he did not explain this to him, but he explained it to other devotees. But then he said, because you are such a popular singer and you are into a different kind of society, For you, it will be very difficult to follow the rules and regulations that I prescribe. So I cannot give you initiation. But you continue the good work. You perform on stage, you sing for people. Then in your singing, you introduce God's names. You make songs about God and you sing those songs. And if you have money to give, then you donate that money for Krishna Seva. I said, in this way, you worship Krishna, or you do your service to Krishna. So like that. Sometimes people are not ready, or situation doesn't allow them. So this is the level. Yes, Navnidhi Mataji, this is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Technically, this is Nishkama Karma Yoga. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage, right? So this is Nishkam Karma Yoga. We already discussed Nishkam Karma Yoga before, right? So this is explained here. Paramita Mataji, you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One who is not able even to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So, even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand. So the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, that can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple for propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activity, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of such activities, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. Next. So here, there is an instruction. I mean, for those who want to involve people in Krishna consciousness or help people to become devotees of Krishna, we should know that not everyone will chant Krishna's names. Not everyone will sit for Bhagavatam class and study Bhagavad-gita. Not everyone will visit the temples. Not everyone will eat only prasadam, become a vegetarian, But that doesn't mean that they cannot begin their spiritual life. So when we go out to tell people about Krishna, sometimes we expect too much from them, that suddenly they should become very exalted, pure devotees of Krishna. No, we should know not everyone is ready for that. Only if, let's say, you are speaking to an audience of 1,000 people, then perhaps only 10 are ready for that. Not even 10, actually, Most of the people are not ready for that kind of commitment. I have done college preaching now for many years. So we used to do programs for boys, and In the beginning, there would be around 300, 400 boys. But at the end of the year, after so many programs, so much of hard work, so many books given to them, so much of prasadam fed to them, so many programs organized, lectures given, so many things done for them, picnics, yatras, so many things. At the end, only maybe 4 or 5 would commit to the process of Krishna consciousness. That we'll chant, we'll become vegetarian, take prasadam, we will study these books, we'll live our life committed to this process. So it's not that everyone is going to, come forward fully for it. But that doesn't mean that those who don't come forward for the full package of Krishna consciousness, they should not be given anything. No, they should be given how much they can take. So the best way to allow people to join in Krishna consciousness is because they are mostly karmis in nature, which means they like to work very hard. So their working tendency should be engaged in Krishna seva, somehow or other, they should be encouraged to do something for Krishna. So, and they should do it voluntarily, and they should do it without any payment, without any salary. That let us do something for good cause. Let us do something for the pleasure of Krishna. So because they have a sense of false ego that they are very skillful and they can do things wonderfully, so this sense of false ego should be employed in Krishna seva. We have to hook them in like that. So in this way, what will happen is that because they are from their heart in a sense of seva, offering things to Krishna, the heart begins to experience purification slowly, right? And in that way, then they can come to a higher level of consciousness, and then they can commit completely to the process of Krishna consciousness, right? So this is to be understood. So it's more important to engage people in Krishna seva than to give them some pravachan. Right? So we have to engage them in some active service to Krishna, right? Otherwise, there's the words that we speak will only enter their ears, but will not reach their hearts. They will not be ready to receive it, right? So that's why they should be encouraged to do some seva. And that is the reason why Srila Prabhupada wanted his books not to be distributed for free. That is why Srila Prabhupada said that you conduct any course, charge for it. You are invited to give a talk, charge for it. So why charge for it? It's not that because ISKCON or Srila Prabhupada wanted money. It's because let them also give something in return, and what they give in return, that is their seva, right? So if they get a book and they give 200 rupees for it, even if they don't read the book, they have gotten some benefit. Why? Because they haven't done some seva. They gave 200 rupees. They gave something to Krishna. So their service to Krishna has begun. But if you give it to them for free, they'll just receive, but they are not giving anything back. So similarly, when you teach them something, when they pay, then they have done some service to Krishna, right? In that way, their spiritual life begins. It begins, right? And then it purifies them. It purifies them. All right. So this is explained here. Now, even this may be difficult for many people. They may not be able to do that also. So what is the next one? Okay, you cannot do Nishkam Karma Yoga. You cannot give your results to Krishna. Then what you do? Athaitat apyasaktosi kartum madyogamashitaha sarva karma phalatyagam tataha kuru yatatmavan. Okay, you cannot offer things to Krishna fully, then you sacrifice the results to some percentage, right? To some percentage, or you sacrifice for some good cause. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. which means you work for others. You work for others. So that's explained here in this verse. That's explained. Okay, Sonali Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. It may be that one is unable to. It may be that one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, familial, or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. If one attaches himself directly to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objections from family members or so many other difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated result of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Vedic rules. There are many descriptions of sacrifices and special functions for the full moon day, and there is special work in which the result of one's previous action may be applied. Thus, one may gradually become elevated to the stage of knowledge. It is also found that when one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard-earned results of his activities. Prabhuji. That is also recommended here because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually. And in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any other experience because Krishna consciousness itself can purify one's mind. But if there are impediments to accepting Krishna consciousness, one may try to give up the results of his actions. In that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad-gita 18.46, we find it as stated, 𝗪𝗵𝗹𝗹. If one decides to sacrifice for the supreme cause, even if it does not know that the supreme cause is Krishna, he will become gradually to understand that Krishna is the supreme cause by the sacrificial method. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this verse and this purport given by Srila Prabhupada is very, very liberal in terms of encouraging the people. So he's saying that, okay, you cannot do things for Krishna, you do for some good cause. Open up a hospital, feed the poor people, educate the uneducated, give those people who don't have clothes to wear, things like that. And, this will somehow make you one day come to realize Krishna consciousness. So, of course, that's kind of a stretch. It's not going to happen so soon because here there is no understanding of any spiritual reality. Such kind of charitable works can also be done on mundane sentiment. So, but then those activities of giving up one's hard-earned wealth, what it does is it purifies one from the tendencies of sense gratification. And the more one becomes purified for the tendencies of sense gratification, the knowledge of Atma or soul begins to flourish in one's heart. So when it says Sarva Karma Phala Tyaga, it means Nishkama Karma, not Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga means you give up the results to Krishna. Nishkama Karma means you give up the results, but not to Krishna, to anyone else, which means you work selflessly, right? So that will purify the heart to some extent. To some extent, it will purify the heart. And Krishna is encouraging that here. That is being encouraged here. Again, we have a good lesson to learn here from this verse, that sacrificing one's hard-earned money for some noble cause gradually paves the path to higher spiritual realization. So we should not discourage people from giving, because giving is the toughest thing to do. If people are giving their money for any cause, let them give, because that will help them. But teach them the right way of giving gradually, so that they can get, excuse me. I'm sorry. So we should encourage people to give, and if they are giving, we should appreciate that. But gradually, if they are giving in the right consciousness, then they will come to know to whom we should give the wealth, for what service we should give the wealth, right? To whom we should do our charity. And that will purify their consciousness further. So this is explained in these verses 8, 9, 10, 11. And then Krishna goes further in next verse to explain some more steps. So he says, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj jnanat dhyanam vishishyate dhyanat karma phalatyagas tyagat shantir anantaram. So if someone cannot practice Nishkam Karma Yoga, as mentioned in verse number 10, then what should one do? Then one should work towards getting knowledge of Atma, so Brahma Gyan. Means study the Vedas, Upanishads basically. But better than just studying the Upanishads is doing meditation on Super Soul or Paramatma, yogic meditation. So tapasya or austerity is better than study. But then selfless work is better than tapasya. Selfless work for Krishna's pleasure. That's much better than tapasya. Tapasya of sitting in the forest or in the mountain cave, right? So once I heard this point given in one class by one of the spiritual masters in ISKCON, and this was very nicely explained by him, by Maharaj, that there are people living in the forest, they put fire around them, and in that way they perform austerity. Or they'll take cold bath in the different holy rivers in the season of winter. But he said a greater austerity is to stand at traffic light for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and distribute Bhagavad-gita to people. That is a greater austerity than to sit in some forest and do tapasya, or sit in the cave and do tapasya. But to be in the city and selflessly try to give Krishna consciousness to others, taking so much of inconvenience for the body, for the mind, but doing that, that is selfless service to Krishna. So from these verses now, we can, okay, let's read the purport of 12.12 also. Verse number 12. Yes, Usha Mataji, please read. Let me just read the translation first. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. This is true. I mean, this is very true. I can say from my experience. When you renounce, your mind becomes peaceful. Yes, you become very peaceful when you renounce. So that peaceful mind is a prerequisite to go into higher levels of meditation on Krishna. Because as long as we don't renounce and we remain the owners of what we have, there's always an anxiety. How to use it, how to enjoy it, how to engage in it, and that anxiety cannot allow one to think deeply about Krishna. But once you renounce, then you are free from that anxiety. Then you can engage your mind completely in Krishna's service. So, yes, Usha Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
As mentioned in the previous verses, there are two kinds of devotional service: the way of regulatory principles and the way of full attachment in love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those who are actually not able to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, it is better to cultivate knowledge, because by knowledge one can be able to understand his real position. Gradually, knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one can be able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by a gradual process. In the cultivation of knowledge, there are processes which make one understand that one himself is the Supreme. And that sort of meditation is preferred if one is unable to engage in devotional service. If one is not able to meditate in such a way, then there are prescribed duties as enjoyed in the Vedic literature. For Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, which we shall find in the last chapter of Bhagavad-gita. But in all cases, one should give up the result of fruits of labor. This means to employ the result of karma for some good cause. In summary, to reach the personality of...
Okay, we'll stop here, huh? Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mataji. So here is this diagram which shows the relation between these verses. I have tried to put it in a very simple, easy way to understand the relationship. So the lowest level of connection is given in verse number 11, which is detached work, nishkama karma. You work for some good cause. You give the results for some good cause. Then better than that is 12b, which is knowledge of soul. Then better than that is 12a, which is yogic meditation, right? And then there is 12c, or verse number 10, work for Krishna, also known as Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then better than that is verse number 9, Abhyasa Rupa Bhakti, practice remembrance of Krishna. And better than that is 8.b, intelligence fixed on Krishna. And best is 8.a, mind fixed on Krishna. That's the order. Yes. So this section completes here. That's again a summary overview. The verses 8 and 9 talk about direct process, and the verses 10, 11, and 12 talk about the gradual process. So the direct process is like taking the elevator to the top floor, and the gradual process is, okay, you want to reach the top floor, but by the stairs, not the elevator. So it's more time taking. The direct process is less time taking. All right, so this section completes here. Before we go to the next section, I have a quick exercise for you. Can you tell me what these letters stand for? T, P, I, P, D, G, D, A, R. These are taken on the basis of the purports. So T, P, I. Yes, Neha Mataji.
P is for personalist and I is for impersonalist, Prabhuji.
Very good. Yes, transcendentalist. So there are two types of transcendentalists, personalists and impersonalists. Okay, next one, P, D, G. Sonali Mataji.
D stands for direct and G stands for gradual.
Thank you. D stands for direct, G stands for gradual. So there are two kinds of devotional processes. And what is the last one? DAR. devotional level. D is for devotional.
Advanced level.
A is for association, Prabhuji.
No.
A is for
A is for
Abhyas.
advanced level.
A is for ภิ and R is for regulative principles.
No. So A is for
A is for
advanced stage.
Advanced level.
Stage, and R is for regulative devotional service. Okay. So this is what we discussed in these verses 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Any questions for this section before we go to the next one? Guru Mayam,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I did not follow.
please raise your hand, Mataji. Guru Mayam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you please show me the slide number from there? I will ask the one that you showed about the different levels of the devotional level.
This one.
Yes, this one, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, here, the work for Krishna, the 12C and 10, the people who are in this level also can have, when working in the 12C and 10, they can also have the 8A, 8B, and 9 can be mixed up, right, Prabhuji? Or is it will be categorized into differently?
So when you say work for Krishna, that is included in 8 and 9, right?
Okay.
But that's not the deciding factor. In 10 and 12C, that is the deciding factor, that person only works for Krishna, but doesn't practice sadhana bhakti, doesn't practice remembrance of Krishna, right? But if you're talking about a devotee who is initiated in a bona fide parampara and is also working for Krishna, so then you don't put that in level 10 or 12.C, then you put that person on level 9, verse number 9.
I see. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Right. Generally, the higher levels, they will include the principles and practices of the lower levels. Getting it?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. Just like higher level of mathematics will include the basic level of mathematics. Yes, Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I could not understand in the flowchart you explained 2A, B, and C. So which are the words in the verse which are describing like yogic meditation?
Okay, so actually it's a mistake here. It should be 12A should be 12B and 12B should be 12A. So 12A, the A refers to jnana, knowledge of soul. B refers to dhyana, meditation. 12.B is meditation. 12.A is knowledge of soul. And then karma phala tyagas, that is 12.C. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
You just have to, in that diagram, just change 12A into 12B and 12B into 12A.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
A refers to Gyan and B Dhyan. Yes. Vijay Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In that 12.12 purport, it is given there are processes which make one understand that one himself is the supreme.
Yes.
What is that, Prabhu? What is that, Prabhu?
That is the impersonal path of impersonal realization.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
So,
Prabhu.
Aham Brahmasmi, that's what they realize. Yes. Neha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my question is slightly out of context. This is about Parashar Bhatta, one Acharya from South India. Is he the same as father of Vedas?
No.
They are different?
Yeah.
Okay.
Parashar Bhatta is I mean, not so distant in the past. He was a follower of Sri Ramanujacharya. And father of Vyasadeva is like quite far away in time. Vyasadeva was 5,000 years ago, born, long time back, and Parashara is father of Vyasadeva. All right. Yes, Ashoka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my question is, normally we say mind can be controlled by intelligence, but here fixing of mind on Krishna is considered to be on a higher level than fixing of intelligence. How do we reconcile that?
Sorry, fixing of?
Fixing of mind. In the chart, fixing of mind on Krishna is shown at a higher level than the fixing of intelligence. Normally we say we can control the mind by intelligence. So how this we can reconcile that in fixing of intelligence on Krishna is a slightly lower level than fixing of mind. And then second question is, the higher level will be if mind and intelligence both are fixed on Krishna.
Okay. So you see, when you say intelligence is fixed, mind is fixed, one is thinking of Krishna, or one is fixing one's intelligence of Krishna, mind and intelligence are involved. So when we are talking about intelligence being used, that is again at the stage of sadhana, which means you are consciously trying to think of Krishna, because otherwise you will not think of Krishna. So when you say control the mind using the intelligence, that is again at the level of sadhana, However, when one is completely in pure consciousness, then the mind plays a much more important role, because mind dictates based on feelings and emotions, right? So then there is no danger there, because the mind will not go outside the boundary of Krishna consciousness. But in case of conditioned state, the mind may go out of the boundary of Krishna consciousness because of its impure nature. So then you have to control it or restrain it by using the intelligence.
Okay.
Right? Like, to give you an example, if you don't trust a person, you'll deal with that person based on the intelligence. Right? But you already love someone. Then when it comes to dealing with that person, sometimes you keep your intelligence at the back.
Happens.
Right? Because then you already love that person and you trust that person. So you don't doubt the intention of that person. You don't judge. Then you have your relationship based on the emotions, the feelings, the mind. Right?
Okay.
Or okay. I would say the heart. Then you keep your intelligence at the back. But when you meet a stranger, then at that time you are going to deal more with the intelligence, because you don't still trust that person.
Okay.
Right?
It means when using the intelligence, we have fully controlled the mind, and mind is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, then intelligence takes a back seat, because that is irreversible process. Mind is fully engaged in Krishna.
Mind is fully engaged. So then you don't need the intelligence to control the mind. Right?
Thank you, Prabhu. It is clear, very clear. Yes. Thank you.
And okay, what was the next one? Okay, the whole thing is clear.
No,
yes.
It is same. It is clear. Yeah. Mind or intelligence, both are engaged in Krishna. It is clear now. But is there any difference when we say mind and intelligence both are simultaneously engaged in Krishna's, or when intelligence takes a backseat?
When mind is engaged in Krishna, the intelligence is already engaged. But when intelligence is engaged, it doesn't mean the mind is engaged.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Right. Just like, to give an example, if the mind is engaged, the body is engaged. But if the body is engaged, doesn't mean the mind is engaged. Right? Correct. So when I say the mind is engaged, I don't have to say separately the body is also engaged.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Fine. Thank you very much. Clear.
Yes. So Rekha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Sadhak Pranam. Prabhuji, in most of the lectures, Srila Prabhupada himself says that Manav Seva is not Madhav Seva. But in these purports, he is saying you should open the hospitals, and this is a little bit contradictory for me in my mind. Please clarify.
Yeah, so he's not saying it to those who are practicing sadhana bhakti. He's telling this for those who cannot practice sadhana bhakti.
It
There
means
has
the
to be,
tendency of giving up will purify their heart, and they will later on engage in the service of Krishna.
correct. You see, what is better? You live a very selfish life, you just live for yourself, or better is that you whatever hard-earned wealth is there, you share with others. What is better?
Sharing is better.
It's not
Yes.
as good as being a pure devotee of Krishna, but it is better than being a very, very selfish person, right? It's just like if you have to tell people to switch from non-vegetarianism to eating Krishna Prasad or honoring Krishna Prasad. But if they say, no, we don't want to do all this Krishna Prasadam stuff, but we don't mind being vegetarian. So will you not encourage that? At least be a vegetarian.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So same thing. You cannot give to Krishna, so at least give to someone else. Please give to someone else. So it's just like a step up. It's just a step up. So there are different kinds of people, and we have to gradually bring them up. Not that every person you meet on the street is ready for same level of instruction. So if your purpose is to upgrade the life of each and every person you meet, then you are going to give them different levels of instructions, because they are not ready for the same level of instructions, right? Isn't it? So
yes, that means continue, please.
So when a person like Srila Prabhupada, who's an Acharya, who wants everyone to improve in their life and go to a higher level of God consciousness, he will give instructions for varieties of audience. Now it's for the audience to understand which instruction is for me.
That means the instruction Manav Seva is not Madhav Seva, is for us who have already engaged in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, and for those who will argue, and also for those who will argue that Manav Seva is better than Madhav Seva. So here, when it comes to understanding, there's no compromise. But when it comes to application, we understand different people are at different levels, so let them apply differently. Right? When it comes to understanding, so when Prabhupada is writing here in verse number, let's say 12.11, open up hospitals and stuff like that. So he's also making it very clear, because Krishna is telling, right, if you cannot do 10, then you do 11. It's not saying that 12.11 is the highest. What it's saying is that if you cannot do 8, 9, and 10, then you do 11. Isn't it? Correct? So when Prabhupada is saying Manav Seva is not Madhav Seva, basically he is trying to smash the belief of those people who think that Manav Seva is the highest possible thing. No, it's not the highest thing. That's their misunderstanding. It's not the highest thing. Don't think that that is the highest thing. It has its level, but it is not the highest thing. Right?
Yes, understood. Yes.
Prabhuji, one point I have. This taking it to the point of Sureka Mataji, when this money is to be given, anyway money is going out of our pocket. So why a prudent man will not give to Krishna instead of giving it to somebody else? The difficult thing is to give away the money.
No, because that person will not give to Krishna, because that person not yet understands that Krishna is the enjoyer.
Okay, so in that case, they will be getting some benefit by giving it to others, charity, like he is recognized in the society.
It's not just that you get some material benefit. When you give the money or whatever you have to give to others, you sacrifice. So you are becoming free from tendency to enjoy material nature. That tendency of that freedom from that tendency makes one then qualified to understand Atma Gyan, knowledge of soul.
Okay.
Right? As long as people are having deep-rooted understanding that I am this body, they cannot give enjoyment or sense gratification tendency. Not possible. So if they give, somehow they start giving this sense gratification tendency, then they will eventually understand, I am not this body, I am spirit soul. Because my gratification does not depend on the gratification of the body.
Correct.
My satisfaction does not depend on the gratification of the body. Right? So that makes them qualified to look for happiness on the spiritual platform.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we'll give you a break, then we come back for the next section.
Krishna
So next verse next verses, they are about the qualities of a devotee, which makes the devotee dear to Krishna. Qualities that endear one to Krishna. So a total number of 31 qualities are mentioned. I have given the verse number with the number of qualities that mentions. So like verse 13 talks about 7 qualities, verse 14 talks about 4 qualities, 15:3, 16:6, 17:3, 18:19 about 8 qualities. So in total it comes to 31 qualities. So 31 qualities mention about a devotee who is dear to Krishna. That is mentioned. Look at each one of them. Very, very instructive purports are given here, and they're also very practical. 13 and 14. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitraha karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukha shami santushtaha satatam yogi yatatma drila nishchayaha mayarpita mano buddhir yo madbhaktaha same priyaha. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Yo mad bhaktaha same priyaha. So starts with the quality of being non-envious, adveshtaha, and then friendly to all. Third is who doesn't think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego. Both who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-control, and engaged in devotional service with determination. Such a devotee is very dear to me. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains each of these qualities, what is expected from a person. So we should know that these 31 qualities which are mentioned here, they are not present in all the devotees. We may have devotees who have just one of these qualities, or we may have those who have 2 of these qualities, or we may have those who have 10 of these qualities. So different devotees will have different qualities to different degrees. Based on their nature and based on the purity of their heart and the level of their consciousness. So when Krishna says someone has these qualities is dear to me, he's not telling that one need to have all these qualities to become dear to Krishna. If one has even one of these qualities, that person becomes dear to Krishna. And if one has more than one, then that person is more dear to Krishna. But then if one has just one also, that makes one dear to Krishna. So for a practitioner, one should do an exercise, a practical exercise. Of these 31 qualities, one should pick up those qualities which we feel very attracted to, and or we feel our nature is quite close to that, and then we should try to cultivate those qualities more. So it's like you invest in what you have. So you have these qualities, so you try to make these qualities more and more deep-rooted in your nature, And so identify those qualities and work on those qualities, right? Now, how do you work on those qualities? You get those qualities by reading about or studying about people who have those qualities, and by meditating upon those people and meditating upon their activities. In that way, we nourish ourselves also with those qualities, and then we can practice those qualities in our life. So let's read the purport here. David Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualification of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor in the envious of anyone, nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks the person is acting as enemy due to my own past misdeed. So it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Srimad Bhagavad-gita 10:14.8, it is stated, Tatit nukampam sushamikashamano bhutajana ivatima kritam vupakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulties, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeed, I should suffer far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of Supreme Lord that I am not going to get all the punishment I am due. I am just getting little. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore he is always calm, quiet, and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is always kind to everyone, even his enemies. Nilmanam means that is a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and the trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is out the material body. He does not identify with the body. Therefore, he is free from all concept of false ego and is equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with a great difficulty. Therefore, he is always joyful. He is completely perfect, mystics because he is fixed in the instruction received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled he is determined. He is not swayed by false argument, because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All this qualification enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. On the Supreme Lord. Oh. Such a standard of devotee service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee comes situated in that state by following the regulative principle of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is For the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here in purport, Sripad explains how these qualities can be seen in the life of a devotee, how a devotee would behave in particular situations, and that's how they will manifest these qualities, right? So like he said that a devotee is not envious of anyone, nor does a devotee becomes one's enemy's enemy, right? So how he thinks or she thinks that whatever I am getting in my life, that's much lesser than what I was supposed to get. Because Krishna is very kind, he has been merciful to me, and he did not punish me so much as I deserve, based on my past bad karma. So this is an attitude which a devotee has to cultivate. Like there was an incident when one disciple of Srila Prabhupada was serving in the kitchen and was cutting some vegetables. So by some accident, he cut one of his fingers, and blood started coming out. So he was so, disturbed by this experience and incident. He immediately ran upstairs to the quarters of Srila Prabhupada and told him that I am practicing Krishna consciousness. You said that Krishna always protects his devotees. So why, while I was cutting the vegetables for Krishna, my finger got cut? Where is the protection? And then Prabhupada immediately answered. He said, actually, your whole hand was supposed to get cut. But Krishna was very kind to you. He only let your finger cut. So this is the perspective of a devotee, that I deserve much worse situations in my life, but because I'm a devotee or I'm trying to be devotee of Krishna, then I'm experiencing less pain and suffering. That's the attitude of a devotee. That's how a devotee thinks. And it's not just that's how a devotee thinks, actually that's how it is. And that's how it is, that the suffering is pretty much reduced because of one's practicing devotional service. So this is the attitude explained here. Tatte nukampam susamikshamano punjana evatma kritam vipakam. We should know one thing. This is of course very high subject matter, but still we should try to understand and appreciate. I'll talk about it at the last verse also. When you go to some university for admission, you should know one thing, that though there are different universities offering you the same degree, but it doesn't mean that if you got a degree from University A, it will have the same value as the same degree received from University B, isn't it? There are thousands of engineering colleges, but if you have passed out as an engineering student from IIT, Indian Institute of Technology, then you are at a different level compared to those people who pass out from local engineering colleges. Correct? Isn't it? So it's the same subject, it's the same books, everything is same, but different universities, they offer different levels of study. And that's why they also expect different levels of commitment from their students. Right or wrong? Isn't it? They expect different levels of commitment from the students. Like there are certain schools which want all their students to score more than 90%. So while taking admission, they're very clear on what kind of students they want to enroll in the school. Their expectations are very high, right? And then there are schools which just want to make money and they're not so much interested in who is coming in. So they will accept anyone. Anyone, come, you study with us, isn't it? Similarly, different sampradayas and different paths of Vaishnavism, they have different expectations from their candidates. They have different expectations from their candidates. So when it comes to pure devotional service, Krishna's expectations from those who are on the path of pure devotional service is very high from those who are not on the path of pure devotional service. So when we are associating ourselves with an organization like ISKCON, which comes in the path of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, then we should know one thing, that in ISKCON, the teachings which are given by Srila Prabhupada are come with a huge and high level of expectation. Why? Because the returns that path offers is also of a very high level. So sometimes people, they compare, why in ISKCON you have these rules and it's not there in other organizations? Why are you so particular about things? Why it has to be like this and not like that? Others are so lenient, they allow anything and everything, but you pinpoint every single thing. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Why it is so restrictive in nature? So it is so because it also gives you a different level of goal or realization. It offers you back something which is of very high quality, right? So expectations are very high. So when we are taking to the path of Krishna consciousness, of course, I don't want to scare you away, but if you're taking to the path of Krishna consciousness in a particular sampradaya, it's very important to know what all experience you will go through in that path. So if you are taking to bhakti in the line of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and then you are expecting a very easy-going, smooth, comfortable life, then you have come to the wrong place. You've come to a wrong place. Why? Because just like if you want to become a very highly ranked placed officer in the army, you have to go through a more rigorous training. Correct? If the country is sponsoring your study in a university outside the country, then the level of exams you have to go through is much more than the exams other students have to go through. Correct? Isn't it? Similarly, if we want to experience pure devotional service, the kind of tests that Krishna will put us through will be much more different from the kind of tests that come in the life of ordinary people. It's not going to be the same. The tests will be much more difficult. Much more difficult. So those who are foolish people or uneducated people, in terms of they don't understand the path of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, when they see those challenges and difficulties and tests coming in their life, the first question will come in their mind is, even ordinary people don't suffer so much. Why do I have to suffer so much? I am a devotee. Why should I suffer so much? But they don't understand those tests are opportunities to actually help us upgrade our consciousness. Those difficulties are opportunities. And rather seeing them as opportunities, we see them as basically setbacks. So these qualities, when we are talking about the qualities Krishna mentions in Bhagavad-gita, how will these qualities develop? Without paying any price? No. Without going through any challenge? No. No, it will all come by paying certain price. And that price and how will we pay that price? By experiencing certain things in our life. And how those things will come to our life? They'll come without knocking on the door. Unexpected problems, trials, tribulations, challenges, And someone who is taking to the study of Gita and Bhagavatam should be prepared for that. It's going to come. If you're not prepared for that, pack your bag and go away. If you're not prepared for that, pack your bag and go away. Because if we are learning Gita, we are not just trying to learn Gita theoretically. We also want to experience Gita in our life. Isn't it? Right? So I don't know how many of you have put yourself in a training environment. But when you put yourself in a training environment, then you are forced to do many things which you don't like. And sometimes you think, I have made my life a hell by joining this program. But actually, when you pass out of that program, then you have achieved something. So bhakti is something like that. Krishna consciousness is something like that. That we'll have to go through those experiences to develop these qualities. to develop these qualities, right? And the tougher, the higher you want to go in Krishna consciousness, the tougher the life will be in Krishna consciousness, because that difficulty will help us grow. That difficulty will help us grow. How do you find successful people in this world? What kind of life they had? They had life of so much difficulty, and that's how they became successful, because they learned so much in their life, and then they grew to be successful people, isn't it? Correct? So it's that same thing in Krishna consciousness. It works like that. It works like that, right? So these qualities which are mentioned here, it will manifest in one's life through these kinds of experiences. And those who are not ready to go through these experiences will have tough time, because we'll not understand why we are going through these experiences, But that's the path we have taken. It's the path we have taken. Next verse 15. Yasmano dvijate loko lokano dvijate chayaha harsha marsha bhayodvege mukto yaha sachame priyaha. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Okay, Arti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I'm not able to see the beginning. Yeah. A few of a devotee's qualifications are further being described. No one is put into difficulty, anxiety, fearfulness, or dissatisfaction by such a devotee. Since a devotee is kind to everyone, he does not act in such a way as to put others into anxiety. At the same time, if others try to put a devotee into anxiety, he is not disturbed. It is by the grace of the Lord that he is so practiced that he is not disturbed by any outward disturbance. Actually, because a devotee is always engrossed in Krishna consciousness and engaged in devotional service, such material circumstances cannot move him. Generally, a materialistic person becomes very happy when there is something for his sense gratification. And his, I'm not able to see that word. And his body. But when he sees that others have something for their sense gratification and he hasn't, he is sorry and envious. When he is expecting some retaliation from an enemy, he is in a state of fear. And when he cannot successfully execute something, he becomes dejected. A devotee who is always transcendental to all these disturbances is very dear to Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, very dear to Krishna. So basically that person becomes dear to Krishna. How does one person become dear to another person? The way you spend your time with that person. That's how you become dear to that person, right? So the way we spend our days in Krishna consciousness, on that basis we become dear to Krishna. It's a very, very dynamic thing, because Krishna is a person, right? He's a person. So he notices every single day, how do we live that? Krishna is noticing. Krishna is keeping track of that. And on that basis, he's going to evaluate how are we related to him. And on that basis, we become dear to him. So Krishna consciousness is a very, very lively process. It's not that something like, in a company you work. Of course, nowadays companies have also changed their style of functioning, but there are still some institutes, on the last day you somehow finish your work and okay, done, promotion, I'm going to the next level. But then there are certain companies which evaluate you on daily basis, how have you been a worker in the company? And that's how they judge and then promote you, right? So relationship with Krishna is something like that. It's not that, one day suddenly if I chant nicely or read nicely or serve nicely, then I become a good devotee. No, it's on daily basis. How am I doing the things that I do? What way do I do? And Krishna is noticing all of that, keeping record of all of that. And on that basis, he understands, okay, what is our level of commitment to him and how he should reciprocate with us, So that's how relationships are. That's how relationships develop. So Krishna says, when person acts like this, then that's how that person starts becoming more and more dear to me. Right? That's how that person becomes more and more dear to me. These qualities endears the person closer to Krishna. Next verse. Anapekshaha suchir daksha udasino gata vyataha sarvarambha paratyagi yo madbhaktaha same priyaha. My devotee is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. Like here, Prabhupada mentions, money may be offered to a devotee, but he should not struggle to acquire it. If automatically by the grace of the Supreme money comes to him, he is not agitated. So if that applies to anything in life, so a devotee will do his or her part, but will not struggle hard to get anything. Because the devotee knows, if I am supposed to get it, then Krishna will give it to me. And I need not struggle very hard to get it. It will come to me. And then in that way, the devotee is very satisfied. Just like giving a simple example. There's a child, he wants a toy or she wants a toy. And the parent is a very, very reasonable parent. The parent is neither one who pampers the child, and neither the parent is a miser who will never fulfill the desires of the child. The parent is a very genuine parent. So when you are with such a parent, when a child is with such a parent, then a child has to express his or her needs only once. Doesn't have to tell the parent 10 times, only once. And if the parent thinks this is what you want, then the parent will provide. And if the parent thinks, no, this is not good for you at this time, the parent will say no. Simple, right? Isn't it? So similarly, when a devotee has that kind of faith on Krishna, then a devotee is not like that kind of child who asks for a chocolate and the parent doesn't give, then makes a big tamasha, starts crying and screaming, you are not a good parent, you don't love me, I never asked you for a chocolate, after so many months I'm asking for a chocolate, and I'm only asking for one chocolate, you see that person, he asked for 10 chocolates, you gave him, you did not give me. So that child will not do that kind of drama, because the child knows my father or my mother is very, very genuine and they really give me what I need. Similarly, a devotee may have a need, a devotee may want something, and a devotee will express it to Krishna, and if one does not get it, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm fine. When the time comes, you give it to me. But then if one is adamant, no, I want it now only, then that's not a good child. That's not a good child, right? That's not a mature child, basically, right? That's not mature. So this is how it's explained here, that a devotee accepts if it comes. Even if there's a need, he doesn't demand or she doesn't demand. Okay, let's read the Prabhupada. Rupanshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Money may be offered to a devotee, but he should not struggle to acquire it. If automatically by the grace of the Supreme money comes to him, he is not agitated. Naturally, a devotee takes a bath at least twice in a day and rises early in the morning for devotional service. Thus, he is naturally clean both inwardly and outwardly. A devotee is always expert because he fully knows the essence of all the activities of life, and he is convinced of the authoritative scriptures. A devotee never takes the part of a particular party, therefore he is carefree. He is never pained because he is free from all the designations. He knows that his body is a designation, so if there are some bodily pains, he is free. The pure devotee does not endeavor for anything which is against the principles of a devotional service. For example, constructing a big building requires great energy, and a devotee does not take too much to such business if it does not benefit him by advancing his devotional service. He may construct a temple for the Lord, and for that he may take all the kinds of anxiety. But he does not construct a big house for his personal relations. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Next. Yo na hrishyati na dveshti na shochati na kankshati shubha shubha parityagi bhaktiman yaha same priyaha. Bhaktiman. Just like when we say Shaktiman, it means someone who has Shakti, energy, right? So Bhaktiman means one who has Bhakti. One who has Bhakti, one who is possessor of Bhakti. One who neither rejoices or grieves, who neither laments nor desires, who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things. Such a devotee is very dear to me, right? So Bhakti or devotional service is not just some activity. Basically, it also means the quality and nature of a person, quality and nature of a being. A devotee is identified by qualities, not just what externally that person does. It's a quality. What is my quality? What is my substance? That's very, very important. So on that basis you judge. On that basis you judge. So these are qualities mentioned here. Of course, when we read these qualities, we may develop some kind of inferiority complex. Oh, I don't have any one of them. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's rare to find people with all these qualities in this world. So we are no exceptions. We are like them, not having these qualities. So Krishna here is telling these qualities to encourage people that at least first desire to have them, then practice sadhana bhakti, and then gradually you'll have them. The qualities mentioned here, we should know they are not material qualities. Like when you say, Krishna says, friendly to all. So there are many people who are friendly to all, but then that friendliness is a material quality. When Krishna says he is friendly to all, he's talking about the spiritual quality of friendliness, right? When he says that you should be tolerant, then he's not talking about material tolerance. He's talking about spiritual quality of being tolerant. So when we say spiritual qualities, then those are not possessed by conditioned souls. Conditioned souls will have only material qualities, right? But those material qualities come and go, just like seasons come and go. So kind to one person, but then again, next day becomes unkind to the same person. That's material quality, right? Tolerant, but the next day no longer tolerant, isn't it? That's material quality. So people say, right, I have tolerated you so much, but now you have crossed the limit. Now I cannot tolerate. So where is the tolerance gone then? So it's a material quality. It will be there someday, it will not be there someday, right? You love someone and then you start hating the same person. So that love is material love. But here when Krishna talks about these qualities, they are spiritual. They are there with you, no matter who is around you. They are always there. That's what Prabhupada says, right? You are a friend to all, which means to all. Enemy is also your friend, and friends also your friend. Right? So then it's an absolute sense, which means you have that quality regardless of what's around you. Yes, let's quickly read the purport here. Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanyavad Pranam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A pure devotee is neither happy nor distressed over material gain or loss, nor is he very much anxious to get a son or disciple, nor is he distressed by not getting them. If he loses anything which is very dear to him, he does not lament. Similarly, if he does not get what he desires, he is not distressed. He is transcendental in the face of all kinds of auspicious, inauspicious, and sinful activities. He is prepared to accept all kinds of risks for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is an impediment in the discharge of his devotional service. Such a devotee is very dear to Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Next. Samaha shatrau cha mitre cha tatha manapamanayoho sitoshna sukha dukkheshu samaha sangha vivarjitaha tulya ninda stutir mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketaha sthir muni tirmatir bhaktiman me priyo naraha. One is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. And the last verse, okay, we can still read the purport for this, I think. Snehal Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. A devotee is always free from all bad association. Sometimes one is praised and sometimes one is defamed. That is the nature of human society. But a devotee is always transcendental to artificial fame and infamy, distress or happiness. He is very patient. He does not speak of anything but the topics of Krishna. Therefore, he is called silent. Silent does not mean that one should not speak. Silent means that one should not speak nonsense. One should speak only of essentials, and the most essential speech for the devotee is to speak for the sake of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is happy in all conditions. Sometimes he may get very palatable foodstuffs, sometimes not, but he is satisfied. Nor does he care for any residential facility. He may sometimes live underneath a tree, and he may sometimes live in a very palatial building. He is attracted to neither. He is attracted to neither. He is called fixed because he is fixed in his determination and knowledge. We may find some repetition in the descriptions of the qualifications of a devotee, but this is just to emphasize the fact that a devotee must acquire all these qualifications. Without good qualifications, one cannot be a pure devotee. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahad gunaha. One who is not a devotee has no good qualification. One who wants to be recognized as a devotee should develop the good qualifications. Of course, he does not extraneously endeavor to acquire these qualifications, but engagement in Krishna consciousness and devotional service automatically helps him develop them. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So engaging in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one to develop them, which means what? That a devotee does not chase these good qualities, that, okay, now let me stop chanting Hare Krishna and let me try to develop these good qualities. No, one engages in devotional service, and then that engagement in devotional service brings one these good qualities, right? Not that one starts reading now self-help books, how to be more tolerant, how to win friends in life, how to be satisfied, and read those mundane books and think by reading those books one will get those qualities. We don't get qualities by reading books. We don't get qualities by reading books. We only get some understanding of what those qualities may be like. We get qualities by living our life based on certain principles. Then you get qualities. Like, to give you an example, to be a dutiful person, that quality does not come by reading books. To be a dutiful person, you get that quality by doing what you do in a principled and disciplined manner. Then you become dutiful. But by reading a book on being dutiful, you don't become dutiful, right? But doing things in your life based on certain principles and a value system, then you become dutiful person. Similarly, all the qualities are obtained by living the life in a particular manner, right? So if you want to change the quality of our life, we need to live our life based on instructions from the scriptures. When we start doing that, then automatically good qualities start coming in. Automatically good qualities start coming in. We don't have to work extra for that, right? Automatically you become clean, automatically you become kind, automatically you become compassionate. So those qualities start reflecting in you, in your nature. So that's explained here, that by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one gets these qualities. Then the last verse, Ye tu dharmamritam idam yathoktam paryupasate shraddhadhana mataparama bhaktaste ativa me priyaha. So Krishna is mentioning here, actually Srila Prabhupada once quoted this thing which was spoken by his Guru Maharaj. My Guru Maharaj used to say, you don't try to see God, just work in a way that God may see you. This is the Krishna consciousness movement, right? So sometimes people, they want to show what they are doing, but actually we don't have to show what we are doing. We should just keep on doing, and Krishna will automatically see that. Krishna will himself see that. We don't have to show. We just have to continue doing our part. And because Krishna has ears and eyes everywhere, he will notice, he will come to see that. So a devotee continues to work in that spirit, that let me act in a way that my actions, my contributions, my services will be recognized by Krishna. And on that basis, then Krishna will bless me or give mercy to me. So a devotee thinks like that. And that's how a devotee acts. And then that's how a devotee becomes dear to Krishna. So in this verse now, which is the last one, there's a phrase at the end, ativa me priyaha. Ativa means too much. So Krishna is saying, this kind of devotee mentioned, he's too much dear to me, very, very, very dear to me. That's the translation, if you look at the translation. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So he's talking about whom? He's talking about those devotees who make a high pitch in their devotional service. We'll give you an example. Let's say you have a good cause, okay? And you go for a campaign for help from people, for support from people. So you do this campaign amongst your friends, relatives, your followers, and all those whom you know, public campaign. You have a project and you have to collect something like 2,000 crores of rupees, big money. So now you are making the campaign. And then you have expectations. Oh, this person, he is my brother and he's pretty rich. So I expect this person to give me 100 crores, you know. And then this person is there. He is a good friend of mine. And she always promised me that whenever I need help, she will give me help. So I can expect 50 crores from her, you know. And then also I have some people who are close to me. They're not so rich. So I can expect maybe 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 from them. You know, in this way, perhaps I can come close to, you know, some amount, not 2,000 crores, but yes, some amount. So you have those expectations in your mind. Now, when you reach out to people and then you ask them, can you help me? Can you support me? So the person from whom you expected 100 crores, and which is nothing for that person. And that person says, okay, yes, you come next day to my house, I'll give you a check. And when you go to the house, you collect the check and you see it's a check of 5,000 rupees. Right? So now what do you understand about that person? Come on, 5,000? That much? So less, so little? I was expecting 100 crores from you and you're giving 5,000. Now your perception of that person changes completely. Very, very negative experience, right? Now, let's say you have a person who is working under you and who has a salary of 10,000 per month, okay? And that person comes to know about your initiative, you know, your campaign. And then that person says, sir or ma'am, I want to give you 5 lakhs. And then your eyes again go big. You 5 lakhs? I mean, your salary is 10,000. How can you give me 5 lakhs? No. And then he says, because you have such a good cause, I have a property which I got from my ancestors. I'll sell that property and give all the money to you. Right? And if even that falls short, then I have some jewelry at home, gold jewelry. I'll sell that also and give to you. And even if that falls short, then I'll remove something from my salary. I'll save every month, and then I'll give it to you. Okay. Now, in this situation, you will really start liking this person. You really start loving this person. Not just because that person is giving you such money, but because of that sincerity, that open-heartedness, that willingness, right, to sacrifice, that willingness to trust you, that willingness to be with you in that project and support you. Correct? Isn't it? So that's how Krishna also looks at us. When we come to Krishna, with how much space in our heart we go to him. What do you want to, what kind of devotion service you want to offer to him? So when someone says, Krishna, I want to be a devotee of yours and I don't want to have any of the good qualities, then that's one level of commitment. But if someone says, Krishna, I want to be a devotee of yours and I want to have all these 31 qualities, just this expression itself, this thought itself, this desire itself makes that devotee so likable to Krishna. Krishna starts loving that person. Oh my God, you want to become that kind of devotee? You want to become that wonderful personality who will have all these qualities? So immediately Krishna becomes more, attracted towards you because of your that, level of commitment. Just like the person having 10,000 salary and says, I'll give you 5 lakhs. Similarly, Krishna, you want to have all these qualities in you, you want to work so hard to please me, then you become 𝗹𝗶𝗹𝗹 priyaha, very, very dear to me, very, very dear to me, because you are making a high pitch, very high pitch, right? You are. So that's why Srila Prabhupada used to say that when it comes to serve Krishna, never think small. Never think small. When it comes to serve Krishna, serve in a way or desire to serve in a way that you want to give more than what you can give. That should be one's attitude. It means one should not be a miser when it comes to be a devotee of Krishna. Aim high. And even if you don't succeed, still Krishna will appreciate you more because at least you aimed high. Just like that person who promised 5 lakhs, even if that person doesn't succeed, still your respect for that person is going to be quite high because at least that person tried, at least that person desired, at least that person wanted to commit so much to your cause. Similarly, there are spiritualists who may take to very, mediocre levels of spirituality. And they might be good at what they're doing. They might be even perfect at what they're doing. But anyone who takes to the path of Gaudiya Vaishnavism and understands what Gaudiya Vaishnavism is, even if that person is just a crawler, a toddler on that path, that toddler is much appreciated by Krishna compared to those who are perfect yogis. Why? Because that toddler wants to develop all 31 qualities to please Krishna. It's a high commitment, it's a high commitment, right? So that's why Krishna says in this verse that 𝗹𝗶𝗹𝗹 priyaha, such a devotee is very, very dear to me, very, very dear to me, very dear to me. And in this way, he concludes this chapter. In the Prabhupada simply summarizes everything, so we'll forgo that. You can read it on your own. He just gives a summary of chapters to end what we discussed so far. Any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, in one of the shlokas, word has come self-situated. What does that exactly mean?
Which shloka?
Shloka number 11. giving up all the results of your work and try to be self-situated. This is the translation.
Situated in itself means, let me look at the Sanskrit, but what I understand is, when it says situated in the self means you be situated in the understanding who you are, which means you are the spirit soul. Nishkama karma yoga is not possible with someone who has bodily identification. So only when one is convinced that I'm spirit soul, that person can do Nishkam karma yoga.
It is written Yata Atmaman.
So that's what you who are situated in the understanding that I'm spirit soul, I'm Atma, self-situated.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just now we were discussing that there are 31 qualities to devotional service, and we will have the urge of achieving all the 31 qualities, but it may be difficult when we are on the path, and probably we may fail in between also. So how do we get about doing it, Prabhuji?
Okay. Now, when you say that we may have the urge for 31 qualities, we should know one thing, that urge for those qualities should not be because now you understand that, okay, when you have these 31, you become very dear to Krishna. Right? It should not be that kind of intellectual understanding. That because this is what makes you a best devotee or a good devotee, I want to be that kind of devotee. It's basically a natural thing. What is your heart made up of? Isn't it? It's a natural thing. So instead of thinking like that, what we should do is that whatever we are attracted to whatever level of Krishna consciousness we are attracted to, we should try to do that level with 100% sincerity. And that 100% sincerity and commitment will promote us to the next level. Right? A very big mistake people do is that instead of working at their level, they may want to artificially jump to a very high level. And that's not going to make them situated on that high level. So one has to work at one's own level. And when we do that with 100% sincerity, then Krishna will bless us with a qualification for the next level. And then for the next level. So we start at our level. We start, as I mentioned before, when we read these qualities, we should identify those qualities towards which we have a natural appeal. Like, oh yes, I want to be someone who is friendly to all. How can I develop that nature? Oh yes, I want to become very, very tolerant person. Oh yes, I want to have strong determination in whatever I pursue in Krishna consciousness. So let us have a calling in the heart for that particular thing, not just an intellectual calling. Right? It should be a calling in the heart. Yes, I want to have this. And then we work towards that. And once we have obtained that, then we can go to the next level. That will come as a grace of Krishna, by mercy of Krishna. Okay. Yes, so gradually we should move on.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Vrindarani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You mentioned today that if we seriously study Bhagavad-gita, we shouldn't be not surprised by tests and turbulences and like that. So I wonder, while the devotee is passing through such difficult times, are there any verses that can give him like solace to easier to give him relief while passing through such things? Because I have noticed in Christianity there are many such verses like that said by Jesus, like those who are tired should come to me and something like that.
Yeah, good question. So one of those verses is mentioned in the purport 12.12, 12.13 and 14. Tattenu kammam susamekshamano. It's a very beautiful verse, you know, and Prabhupada used to quote this verse often. And so this is one of those verses which gives you so much solace. Tattenu kammam susamekshamano. And that, like that, there are many such verses. So I don't think there is an assortment of such verses done by anyone. But when you read or when you study the books, you can make your own assortment or collection of such verses. Right?
I was trying that.
Yes, you can do that. You know, like there's this verse of Krishna is saying, Apichet suduracharo vajate mam ananya bhak sadureva samantavya samyak bhavisato hisa 9.30. And then he says, Shipram bhavati dharmatma. So even if my devotee sometimes accidentally does something wrong, I still consider such a devotee a saintly soul. So like that, there are words of encouragement by Krishna and devotees in scriptures. We can note them down. And when we have difficulties in life, we can go through them. Right? Yes. Or it can be some statements by our spiritual master or Srila Prabhupada. You know, once I love this letter. I don't know if I can show it to you someday, but if you happen to go to ISKCON Vrindavan temple, and in Vrindavan temple, if you happen to go to Srila Prabhupada house, then when you enter Srila Prabhupada house, the first room is the reception. Then you take a left, then you go to a small section inside, and then you take a right, then comes Prabhupada's bedroom where he left his body. And then when you enter inside there, then towards the left, there is another room which has a deity of Prabhupada sitting and writing a letter, you know, in that pose, right? And when you come out of that room and you go towards the garden, the closed garden inside, on one of the walls, there is a letter hanging, which is from year, I don't remember, maybe 75 or 77. Prabhupada has written a letter to devotees in Germany. So those devotees were experiencing a lot of difficulties while they were preaching Krishna consciousness. And that letter is so much of solace and soothing words by Srila Prabhupada towards those devotees. You know, he writes there what to do. We all have taken a difficult task. We are treating crazy people, half-mad people. So you will have troubles in life when you're treating half-mad people, isn't it? If people are crazy around you, you will have difficulties, you will have troubles. So he writes in that letter that don't worry, don't mind if people are disturbing you, troubling you. You should know you are in a mental asylum and you are the doctor for Krishna. You know, so such kinds of statements are there. We should go through them, and that will help us. All right. Yes. Thank you, Srinivas. Oh, Vijay Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji.
I'm coming to you, Srinivas. Yes, Vijay Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, is there anything wrong in desiring for that 31 qualities after knowing that, Prabhu?
Is it something wrong? What, Mataji?
In desiring for that 31 qualities after knowing that?
No, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. But then that desire should not be an intellectual.
Yes, intellectual thing, but it should
understand. It should be from the heart. Yes.
Yeah.
It should be from the heart, you know. Okay. So it should not be just, oh, because today I read that this person I came to know, you know, so I want to become like that. So it should not be like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it should not be like that. It should be that I would like to become so because I want to please Krishna. That should be the understanding. Then it's okay. Thank you. Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, but the first, the 4 slokas, you are describing the types of devotee and then the qualities of the devotees. Now, how we can assess where we fall and what to do to acquire these qualities?
Very good question. So you don't assess yourself, Prabhu, because your stupid mind will always grade you more than you are.
Yes, Prabhuji. Because we think that we are doing great things or we are doing a lot of things. But
Yeah,
actually,
so
we are not. We are in like very low position.
correct.
But
So
how
what
do
we
we
should
know
do is
our
that, how do we assess ourselves is, we don't assess ourselves, we let others assess ourselves.
But
We let
how we can do that?
Oh, how you can do that? You have a spiritual master. You have your
Now in ISKCON, we spiritual master, we don't have
no.
direct.
So when you say spiritual master, why you think I'm talking about Diksha Guru?
Even Diksha Guru also.
Of course, then you should have that kind of relationship with one of your Siksha Gurus, no? If none of your gurus knows you and it can evaluate you, then you don't have a very strong guru-disciple relationship.
Okay. Because I'm away from a place where I keep on touch on in phone. But
that's okay. You should also go and physically spend time.
Then I have to means I have to ask him to assess me, or how is that?
Yes, you can sometimes ask also. What's wrong?
Then what about these 31 qualities and how we know that?
You'll come to know from your behavior, that person will tell you. I mean, it's not difficult. You see, it all depends on if you have such a relationship. If you have such a relationship, you will not have such a question. Because if you have people around you and you have such kind of relationship, they will tell you, Prabhu, you are not very tolerant. You need to become tolerant.
Okay.
You know? Or you have to learn how to be more balanced in life and not be disturbed by happiness and distress so much. Or you need to work on your ego. You have too much of ego. Or you are too passionate in nature. You're not humble. You have to become humble. Or you have a good heart, but you don't know how to communicate to people. So people will give you feedback. But for that, of course, you should have that kind of relationship. Sometimes, we ourselves do a big damage to ourselves. And that is that we make walls around us and don't let people then enter into our private space and evaluate us or judge us. So then we'll never get such kind of help. So we need to be open. And when we are open, then people will give feedback to us. People will help us.
But we can accept that as a genuine feedback, Prabhuji?
If that person is a genuine well-wisher.
It's our direct approach is a Siksha Guru only.
Well, it depends on how you define your genuine well-wishers. There may be devotees who are not your Siksha Guru, but might be your genuine well-wisher also.
Okay. But our sadhana and whatever cannot count on based on that?
No, you cannot. Because when you say I'm doing my sadhana, then you are only mechanically evaluating your sadhana. Okay, I got up today in the morning. Okay, I chanted my rounds. Okay, I read for 2 hours. But then you're not evaluating the quality of it. You're just evaluating the quantity of it. Right? And some of the people don't even keep records of the quantity. So forget about quality. Like, for example, in this Bhakti Shastri course, we mentioned to you that there's a criteria. Those who are opting for certificate should submit their sadhana report or sadhana sheet. But many of you are not submitting it. So many people don't even keep a record of the quantity of sadhana they do. So forget about keeping a record of the quality of sadhana they do.
Quantity of, I'm also not doing properly.
Then you see. So if you don't keep record of quantity, then how will you also keep record of quality?
But I made a rule that I will do this much every day. That is there.
That's okay. That is your rule, no? As I said, we cannot judge ourselves. We have to allow others to judge us. And who to judge us? Those are better than us. Then we'll come to know where we are.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Taking question from Srinivas Prabhuji only. Prabhuji, is assessment required because maybe your spiritual master, we are still not initiated, and of course we are in touch with our Prabhuji, and maybe people around us can assess you. Suppose you've been working somewhere, and if you don't get, whatever you give, you get back. So suppose you are in office, you have been earlier there, and I feel that if you have not treated the people well, or you're not a good soul, you don't get that receptivity. So I was a little bit baffled on this. The spiritual guru may be a little far away. So how do you make your self-assessment, or how people around you can assess you? Thank you.
Self-assessment is there, but then it's not the only thing which is there. You assess yourself, let people assess you, let your guru assess you, and then you decide on that basis. For example, if you are not tolerant, then you will also come to know that you are not tolerant. People will also talk about it to you. And then when you meet your guru, he will also say, or she will also say, or other devotees will also say. Then you come to know, okay, so many people are telling, and I'm also feeling, so I need to work on this quality. Okay, next question. What is the difference in being tolerant at material and spiritual levels? Tolerant in material level means you tolerate because you want something from that person. There is a need of sense gratification, and you're tolerating for that purpose, right? When we say tolerance on the basis of spiritual understanding, then you tolerate because you know that everything you get in life is a reaction to your own past karma, right? And if you don't tolerate, you act in certain way which will create a new karma. You'll have to again suffer in future for that, or enjoy for that. So there's an understanding of spiritual knowledge, and on that basis I tolerate. And next, swiftly, does it mean one life or many lives? Swiftly means one life, but then again, for that one life, the devotee should be of that level, right? Of that level means the devotee should be engaged in pure devotional service. Then Krishna says, I swiftly deliver such person from the cycle of birth and death. And even if, let's say, it's 2 lives or 4 lives, that's quite swift compared to thousands of lives that a yogi has to spend. Right? That's also quite swift.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we complete the unit 2 here. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We'll start with unit 3 next year, 2023, chapter 13 onwards. So for those who are giving exams for BOE certificate, we will have the shloka test on 31st of December, and you'll have the written exam on 7th of January, Saturday. So note down that on your calendars. And we'll begin, yes, unit 3 from 2nd week of January or 3rd week of January, which means from 14th of January we'll begin the unit 3. All right. And
and we are having holidays.
Yes, we have holidays.
And Prabhuji, we are supposed to do all the 14 shlokas of unit 2.
Yes.
Okay.
So also, some of you, as I said, you please don't mind it, but you don't participate in the class. Your videos are always off. You don't read. You don't ask a question. You don't discuss in the group work. So your passive participation in class is not so much welcome by us. And at the end, I always have the flag to show red or green when it comes to awarding the certificate. So no matter if you score 90% also in your exams, but you don't participate in class, I'll show a red flag, right? So please keep a note of that. Attendance should be minimum 70%, and you should participate. Otherwise, you can always do Bhakti Sastri again. We'll give you promotion to the next batch without any extra fee. So don't worry, you can always do it next year or next to next year. So do it nicely, do with 100% commitment to the course, because once you do it, you'll not do it again. So that's why when you do it with 100% commitment, right? Otherwise, what will happen is the certificate will come, the degree will come, but the kind of transformation that is supposed to come will not come. And then will be like a pseudo Bhakti Shastri students, not really Bhakti Shastri in quality, but Bhakti Shastri in name, right? So that's not very good achievement. That's why please be committed to the process, the course, and then you will get so much of benefit out of it. Today, I'll be also, or maybe tomorrow, you'll get the list of students who will not give exam this time because of poor attendance. So you can then give it in the next batch. And wish you all the best. See you now for the exam on 31st and then on 7th. Yes.
Prabhuji, I have a question. You had actually, polled for 24th or the 31st for the shlokas. So now you've moved everything to the last date of the month?
Yeah, because majority is going for 31st, right?
Ah, okay. Okay.
So I want to keep it together.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
So if you have any problems on giving on 31st, you can let me know. I can take it for you on some other day, some other time, right? But then it should be some genuine cause. Then yes, we can take it, adjust it. All right. See
How many
you.
questions are we going to get in Unit 2? And all of them will be compulsory for...
You'll get 499 questions, Mataji.
Oh, Prabhuji. Maybe 10, 12, like last time you gave us in Unit 2. Approximately we can...
If I give you 14 questions, will you sue me to the court? Right. So it will be around 10, 12, 14.
Prabhuji, you've been kind to us in any way. You've been spending so much of time on us. And the quality of preaching that you've been giving us.
I'm just kidding, Mataji. Yes, it will be around 10, 12 questions.
Can't even think of it, Prabhuji. No, I can't even think of it. You're such a lovely person. No.
10, 12 questions, Mataji. Yes, around 10, 12.
It'll be
Thank you
same
so
like
much.
last time only, no, Prabhuji?
Kind of, yes. Okay.
Some surprise questions also?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. See you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.